Let's get into the news.
Indeed.
First on the docket, this one's fresh off the press, and boy, is it hot. Anthropic and SpaceX sign compute partnership. Are you kidding me? This one is, it's taken over the timeline. This dropped yesterday. It's pretty hot.
This was one for the Claude Code users. Limits, higher usage limits. No one's going to be hitting their usage limits anytime soon, I don't think.
This is nuts.
Nice.
By the way,
that was the one thing that people started getting super annoyed at. For it was like, Claude's great, but like I just hit my usage limits all the time.
So yeah, this hit the timeline yesterday. This is from Elias over at the WSJ. They were quick to report on it. Now we've seen a few more people follow through. I'm not sure if anyone had an exclusive. It seemed to be broken from Claude's Twitter account, not Anthropic's Twitter account, which is interesting. But let's just bear in mind, this news is breaking during the OpenAI trial. So Musk is at the trial, going head to head with Sama and Brockman. At the same time,
I didn't think about that.
He's in the back chatting with Dario. He's so
he's in the back making deals happen.
He's got his fingers in all the pies.
What a beast.
This kind of makes me realize why the text came
Last
through.
week he did 7 hours of testimonial. But while he was doing testimonial for 7 hours,
he's also signing probably the largest compute deal of all time. So let's talk about it. Anthropic Inc.'s deal to use all of SpaceX's Colossus 1 compute capacity prefixed quickly. xAI will also be rolled into SpaceX with the new name of SpaceX AI. We do have confirmation that there will be a new logo, and Benji, the head of design at Twitter, has replied an eyes emoji to Musk's announcement, which means it is probably in safe hands, given that Benji is a talented designer who is now head of design at X. But SpaceX will supply 300 megawatts of new computing capacity by the end of the month. Anthropic will use all of the computing capacity at SpaceX's Colossus 1 data center in a new agreement with Elon Musk's rockets and artificial intelligence company. SpaceX will supply 300 megawatts of new computing capacity, using more than 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs by the end of the month, Anthropic said Wednesday. Anthropic also expressed interest in a partnership with SpaceX to build AI data centers in space. Finally, Musk is getting what he wants. I saw StarCloud CEO Philip jump in here. He's pretty pumped about it. He says that following this announcement, the Dyson Sphere is actually not that far away.
The 10,000 years is a countdown.
The 10,000 years just
now
just got a little bit shorter.
9,999 years.
The chances of him coming back on the show to talk about it once they do it have just increased. They're no longer... I mean, you could argue maybe they are zero. I don't know. Maybe the show. I mean, we might be alive then. I'm not sure if Brian Johnson will finally get us all to live forever by then. We'll see.
I think he will.
But yeah, we're very bullish on that. Financial terms of this agreement were not disclosed. The agreement comes as Anthropic has struggled to gather enough computing power to fuel enormous demand for its AI models, a struggle that every single frontier lab is experiencing at the moment. It said that SpaceX agreement will substantially increase its capacity and announce high usage limits for Claude Code and the Claude KPI. The deal also comes as SpaceX is shifting its own AI strategy. In February, the company merged with Musk's xAI, whose Grok models were built using the Colossus 1 data center, which is located near Memphis 10. Musk is working on an even bigger data center, the Colossus 2, also in the region. And last month, SpaceX said it had joined forces with the AI coding startup Cursor, securing an option to buy the company for $60 billion. There's also a default aspect of that deal where if it doesn't go through, they will be paid $10 billion for their services. At the time, the company said Cursor's team would use Colossus to train advanced frontier models for SpaceX. It's about the kingmaker scenario. In a game of three where three or more players, there's a situation where a player who is unable to win has the capacity, has the potential, has the choice to determine which player among the others will win. So they know that they can't win. So they have a choice. They can kingmake another player by partnering up with them, which would ultimately mean that that player would win. You know, this whole, you can't beat me on your own. Oh, yes, but I can with them. And it's Musk and it's some sort of Star Wars thing going on. This is very tactical. It's very strategic. But it's also highlighting, I think, that it's kind of shifted the power dynamics, not even a little bit, quite a lot, because Musk holds the keys to the access to compute. Which is who's constrained by all this? All their competitors. He's now holding the keys to this access that everyone is in need of.
Yeah.
So yeah, strategically genius move. It was surprising to me to see that this partnership had happened.
Claude Tweet says, we've agreed, 18.6 million views. We've agreed to partner to a partnership with SpaceX that will substantially increase our compute capacity. This, along with our other recent compute deals, means that we've been able to increase our usage limits for Claude Code and the Claude API. It is a good day for builders on Claude. Increased usage capacity, what does that mean? Higher usage limits. Anthropic has explicitly announced that this agreement allows higher usage limits for both Claude Code and Claude API. Better scaling, company stated that the influx of compute will substantially increase its overall capacity across like basically kind of, all of its models essentially. And then they're obviously going to be, meeting the demand of, the rise of Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and everyone using their kind of new Opus 4.7 models. It's like a direct response to their struggle, right? From developers being like, look, I'm hitting my weekly usage limits. This is basically super annoying.
People were constrained.
This is directly positively affecting those people. So very, very good work. Very clever.
If you were looking to profit from your knowledge around this whole thing that we've got going on right now, you could go to Polymarket. It's the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Let's get up the Wired article. We don't have to pull it up. We can just run through it. But this was a really cool. Quickly, very, very, very quickly.
I love the headline.
Kind of liking Wired recently. Wired's after they got that ineffable intelligence exclusive. I thought that was really cool how they gave it to Wired.
Sporadica said, you mean to tell me that xAI is just renting out a whole ass gigantic data center, 100,000 H100 to Anthropic? What in the hell is happening?
Essentially, in my eyes here, xAI have attempted to kingmake Anthropic. And what's also funny is, Musk being Musk, there's a lot of tweets from the past where he's like called Anthropic's model incredibly woke. He's said that Anthropic is misanthropic. Yeah. And now, this is coming back around. I can't see a world in which this screams, incredibly bullish signal for xAI. It seems to me more like a really good strategic move to like assess your situation, realize that you can't win. Okay, well then let's move to the next best thing. Let's control compute for winners, and let's also offer that to, you could argue second place or first place, whatever it was, but essentially it's in a way passing the crown to first place for the next, however months we have until something else crazy happens.
Comment from Trace Cohen as well on that post says it will make a lot of money for their IPO, which is correct, right? They're renting out their data centers to Anthropic. That is obviously going to generate kind of major revenue.
Headline reads, Anthropic gets in bed with SpaceX as the AI race turns weird.
What a
weird
headline.
Is fair. Weird is this? This is from Lauren Good.
The AI race turns weird.
In an unexpected turn, the two companies signed a deal for Anthropic to use computing resources from Elon Musk's xAI. Anthropic and Elon Musk's SpaceX said on Wednesday that the two entities have signed an agreement. It references here, this was something I mentioned earlier. Earlier this year, Musk criticized Anthropic's AI models in a post on X, calling the company's policies misanthropic and evil, and alleging without evidence that the AI models showed racial and sexual biases. Now he's changed his tune. He's right on X that he spent a lot of time last week with senior members of Anthropic team to understand what they do to ensure Claude is good for humanity, and was impressed.
There was also a nice little paragraph that did mention the IPO and said the partnership comes at a pivotal time for SpaceX AI, which is seeking to go public as soon as next month. A relationship with a leading AI lab could bolster SpaceX's credibility as it pitches investors on the potential goldmine in establishing more data centers, including in space. Again, it's a perfect game and a perfect deal of, hitting two things at once with that cherry on the top, while going through the trial with Sam Altman. So it's just so clever and awesome that no one really saw it like we were saying earlier, right? Super interesting. DeepSeek nears $50 billion valuation. As China invest in it. Very interesting. AI startup works with Beijing in the push for technology self-sufficiency versus the US.
Yeah, this was we saw hints of this come out a few weeks ago when we discussed like, why were they raising? They were raising just to retain employees. They were raising money to use that cash to promise like equity payouts, stock payouts, or whatever, to employees at the firm, which is the first time that I'd personally seen a sole reason for raising said money is literally just to retain the best talent, which now in this hyper competitive, I guess talent wars are still ongoing. They don't get as much press anymore, but they are definitely still alive.
Sure.
Within this world of the AI talent wars, this is incredibly necessary. Like you need to have a lot of money to keep these people on side. DeepSeek is raising money from government-backed investors, aligning the artificial intelligence startup with Beijing's push for technology self-sufficiency. Some prospective investors have valued DeepSeek at around 50 billion in recent talks. I saw the FT commented it was more around 45. The valuation has surged in recent weeks after previous discussions envisioned a range between 10 billion and 30 billion. China's National Artificial Intelligence Industry Investment Fund, a one-year-old government-backed fund with around 8.8 billion in capital, is in advanced talks to invest in the round in Chinese yuan. People familiar with the matter said Hangzhou-based DeepSeek aims to raise a few $1 billion in the new round. The people said the company plans to use the new capital to advance its research and development as well as to expand computing infrastructure. It also wants to anchor a market valuation to signal its worth and provide a benchmark for employee stock grants to help retain top talent, some of the people said. I like the first part, anchor a market valuation, signal its worth. This makes complete sense. And again, I think this is incredibly smart to retain talent. Like it's just incredibly necessary. They have to do this. That's the only way that they can keep people. It's just with insane sums of cash. Beijing has treated DeepSeek as a national AI champion since the startup rattled Silicon Valley and Wall Street earlier last year with a powerful model it said was built at a fraction of the cost of Western rivals. DeepSeek has since become a key component of China's plan to have top-class homegrown companies in a range of AI fields. It seems like a fair valuation. Like this doesn't seem outrageous. Maybe 3-4 years ago it would seem a little bit outrageous, but I don't think anymore that this, the numbers have changed, the game's changed. Like people are desensitized to these numbers now. So this for me is there's nothing in here that screams like, oh, this is crazy, this makes no sense. It completely aligns. And they also released an upgraded flagship model called V4. That was last month. The new model was trained on NVIDIA's high-end chips. DeepSeek works closely with Huawei and other domestic chip providers, signaling a pivot away from dependence on the US. Coming back to this sovereignty conversation that everyone's having right now, AI is the catalyst of this. And it's not just in Europe or the US. It's global. People are recognizing the power this will have and the power it will play in like future geopolitics as well. DeepSeek has said that V4 matched top-tier US products released late last year, but in certain areas lagged leading US models released this year, such as Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.6. Investors expect the new DeepSeek model to drive a wave of AI adoption in China as industries look to automate more complex tasks from offices to the factory floor. First thing that comes to mind is probably the automotive industry. I know that like everyone was, especially in Germany, people were incredibly scared of Chinese EVs basically like destroying the German economy, because it was essentially
the German economy is propped up by the automotive industry.
100%, yeah, and they could not compete in terms of any like EV models that they were bringing out, and that was like a really scary thing for a while. But I think then the war in Ukraine meant that like a lot of capital was flowing into defense, so naturally like you can sort of very rapidly like refit your automotive factories, for example, for like weapons or defense manufacturing. So it's kind of like, the war in a way saved Germany's economy in an interesting way. But it's definitely in Europe, I'd say, obviously the front lines of Ukraine, we're seeing they have the most high tech, like that is the frontier of tech drone warfare, but also by proxy, also the frontier of just drone technology. So a lot of really great startups coming out of there. But I say as a whole, in the whole of Europe, you'd probably suggest that like Munich and potentially maybe areas of the Baltics are probably the front runners in deep/defense, like dual use technology in Europe would be my guess. In 2024, China raised the equivalent round of 50 billion in the third installment of its National Semiconductor Fund, commonly known as the Big Fund, aiming to bolster the country's chip-making capabilities. Months later, the Big Fund helped set up the AI Fund. So this is the new AI Fund that has been released last month. Yeah. So things are heating up, which is always good to see. It's not just happening over here in Europe and the US, but also over there in China.
Indeed it is. Airwallex, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex. The all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate accounts, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. Go to airwallex.com. Let's move on to memory stocks.
Okay, these make me want to cry. I said that every single one is mooning. I do we've mentioned on the show before, Zephyr, the X account, who called out SanDisk like months ago. And he's been following it with his tweet. His follow account went nuts after he tweeted. He was like, I called this here. It's up like, I don't even know, over 1,000% in the space of 6 months. I saw a tweet today. It's something like, if you put in 25,000 into SanDisk like last year, you'd have like 1.2 million right now. A bunch of memes are coming off this, really great ones. Like, everyone's asking like, can someone tell me the next emerging market so I can get in early? Like that tweet seems to be getting rinsed at the moment, but they are flying. We've got Lawrence coming on later to talk about this in a bit more depth. We're going to get his take. So Cloudberry VC is one of the first UK-based semiconductor-specific venture capital firms. So he's obviously very well poised to discuss this. He had a great chat with Paddy over at Odin on Paddy's new platform, chatting a little bit about strategically, like where does the UK sit within this. But yeah, I just dropped him a text the other day and was like, would love to chat more with you about this later on. But yeah, it's everywhere. Like it's everything is mooning, and it's not just the memory. It's not just the memory stocks are leading the charge. Also, Wall Street bets and like retail have got a hold of this now. So you, like in every single like Reddit thread, you're born out of the GME era. The new thing to talk about is memory stocks. Yeah. So all of retail is flooding into this. Yeah.
It's like their S&P.
I'll quote from Dan Gallagher. Memory makers are the hottest thing in tech. Are they making too much money? He asked. The profit margins of memory makers look unsustainably high, but AI demand is changing the game. And as I said, I will prefix this with, it's not even just the memory stocks, it's anything connected to the AI supply chain right now. And we've got another article going about this Japanese toilet maker, and there's also this like glass maker. Their stocks are mooning after announcing.
They're all pivoting.
Yeah. How can we plug into the supply chain and capture some of these margins?
How can we become AI native, essentially?
And this is a really great write-up. So it says something about the memory business when skyrocketing profits can actually be a cause for worry. Profits have never been a sure thing in the volatile industry. Memory chip makers Micron Tech, SanDisk, hard drive makers Seagate, Western Digital, all up, have all produced annual operating losses at least once in just the past 3 years, but those days seem far in the past now, as the AI boom had sparked an epic run on memory chips and hard drives. Sales at all four companies have surged this year. SanDisk and Micron are now generating around 80 cents of gross profit for every dollar of revenue. That is insane margins. That compares with a wide range historically from single digits to around 60 cents on the dollar. It seems unsustainably high for companies in very expensive businesses of physically manufacturing chips, but the unique nature of chip making also speaks to why the market conditions driving such profits won't be changing anytime soon. Memory demand is growing sharply now, but new production facilities take years to build. So we're seeing this sort of like bottleneck of like just classic demand supply, and people are just diving in. So spending on artificial intelligence would need to fall off significantly to make a dent in the industry's current pricing power, and the biggest spenders in AI just signaled their intention to spend even more. Microsoft raised its capital spending forecast for the year by $25 billion, Meta $10 billion, its own planned outlay, with both citing rising component costs at the justification.
And Meta's almost at $200 billion a year spending in capex costs.
This is driving the prices up for everyone, even Apple, long known for its prowess at managing the supply chain and wrangling favorable terms out of its vendors, now concedes that memory prices will drive, and this is a quote from Tim Cook, will drive an increasing impact on our business, according to the comments from Chief Executive Tim Cook, who has stepped down from that position. The shortage is also raising the stocks of memory makers. SanDisk is now valued at nearly 7 times what it was 6 months ago, while Seagate and Western Digital have seen their share prices nearly triple in that time. Samsung Electronics is on an absolute tear. This is the world's largest producer of the DRAM memory chips, became the latest member of the 1 trillion club this week. Micron and Korean memory maker SK Hynix have both seen their share prices more than double this year. Both carry a higher market cap.
The Samsung workers like they were getting annoyed because they were like, "Yo, our profit, your profits are soaring, and we're not getting any more money."
That is nuts. So yeah, the response from the Samsung employees was to unionize,
almost like riots type thing.
And
right?
I love it. I love that from them. But they
it's like we know what's going on. Like, pay us more money.
This is from Daniel Tudor, who's based in Seoul. This is only released 6 hours ago, but Samsung workers demand a bigger slice of surging AI profits. South Korean unions threaten strike action in the battle for big bonuses and higher wages. So Samsung Electronics is locked in a feud with its workers over how to share the spoils of the AI-driven semiconductor boom, with unions threatening to call a strike if the chip maker does not increase wages and bonuses. 2 Samsung unions are demanding the company pay out 15% of each division's operating profits to workers. That is insane. 15% of divisions' operating profits to workers, as well as raise wages by 7%. Fair. They have threatened an 18-day walkout starting on May 21st if these demands are not met. The dispute comes at a time of surging demand for semiconductors, especially the advanced high-bandwidth memory chips made by Samsung and others that we mentioned earlier. Wednesday, Samsung Electronics stock market value hit more than $1 trillion after its shares surged more than 14% to an all-time high. Net profit soared to a record 47.2 trillion won, which is $32.6 billion in the first quarter, almost 6 times higher than the figure in the same period a year ago.
That's so
They're moving
crazy.
like a flipping Series B, like index A16Z funded.
Yeah.
You know, like
Not $1 trillion company. They are $1 trillion company now.
Yeah, triple, double in. Almost all the profits
Last month,
were
40,000
earned from
workers
semiconductors.
rallied outside Samsung's factory complex
Is that how many people work at Samsung?
in Pyeongtaek, 70 kilometers south of Seoul.
40,000 workers rallied outside the Samsung factory offices. That is insane.
Indeed.
So a strike could disrupt global supply chains at a time when memory chip supply is tight. A rush by AI companies to sign long-term contracts with chip makers has pushed up prices for other customers, including makers of consumer electronics. Kwon Seok-jun, a professor at Sungkyun Kwan University in Seoul, estimated an 18-day walkout would cost Samsung between 10 trillion and 7 trillion won. And doing some quick maths, that is about $7.5 billion at the low end. Indirect losses, but the bigger damage is indirect. Samsung is trying to build up a contract of chip making businesses and to establish itself as a trusted supplier of HBM4 chips to NVIDIA. And even, this is insane, there would also be ripple effects on the 1,700 smaller companies that supply Samsung. The Bank of Korea estimates about half of the country's first quarter GDP growth of 1.7% was attributable to chip making. Samsung Electronics and its rival SK Hynix account for more than 40% of the value of the Kospi index.
This happened last week. So this toilet maker pivoted to an AI company last week, right? I think.
Yeah. So it got leaked not leaked, like a month ago. It was, I think it was called like Toto, I think. I'll have to find the name, but Toto, they basically would manufacture toilets, but they discovered that some part of that was like instrumental in manufacturing semiconductor chips. So immediately we're like, okay, 99% of our company's value is right here in this part of this specific toilet making process. This comes from Jared Mitovich over at WSJ. The chip craze is turning a glass company and a toilet maker into AI stocks. Investors are driving big gains in companies making components vital to AI infrastructure. Kind of showing, like, you know, previously when the Mag 7 had basically accounted for like something like 90% of the gains across the whole market. I'm paraphrasing with the numbers. There might be slightly, you know, error margins there, give or take 5 or 10%. And it's reminding me of that, you know, like these are flying in comparison to the general market.
You know, the concentration of the S&P has been a thing where it's like, hey, like if you're investing in the S&P, your exposure is only really the sevens, you know, the Mag 7.
Growth.
And they control, you know, 20% of the whole of the performance, right? So like this in reality is probably a good thing because it's less concentration of profits, which is good.
Investors' pursuit of the company supplying key materials to the artificial intelligence build-out is powering an epic rally in shares of chip makers. The other companies caught in the frenzy include an 175-year-old glass manufacturer, a heavy machinery giant.
Business.
I love that. And I bet they'd have some cool merch. And Japan's leading maker of toilets. The AI trade has boosted stocks record run, with the S&P 500 climbing 1.5% to new highs on Wednesday after signs of progress on a Middle East peace deal and strong earnings from AMD. Corning is among the latest companies to reap a windfall from the ripple effects of the data center build-out. Shares saw 12% on Wednesday after NVIDIA announced a plan to invest $500 million in the glass maker to expand manufacturing and fiber optics, a key connective tissue for AI infrastructure. So we're starting to see it's like AI boom, need more compute. Let's like all the money now flows into construction and manufacturing.
Everything is now soft. Is now infrastructure.
What's the downside of that though? You know, we need to find what's the next thing? Where do we make the money? You know, I've missed this. I'm behind. I've left this alone. And that's fine. There'll be another one. There's always another one.
That's the show. We will see you later. Bye.